Welcome back to 13 Days of Walking the Witch's Path. Today we're going to talk about the natural world, and I have chosen for my setting one of my most favorite places in the world. We have 5 children, and at one point they were 5 under 5, and so finding places to go that didn't cost money and also finding playgrounds that could contain 5 very active children was sometimes really difficult to do. Where we are today is at our favorite playground. It's set back from the main road, so it was really easy for me to keep track of all of the kids, and it became our magical natural wonderland. We had trees that we marked as being fairy trees. We had creeks that are down off to the side that we could go to and watch the fish and watch other various life forms around those areas. There were birds. There was all kinds of activities that were part of this natural space. So today, since we are talking about the magical world of nature, I thought it would be nice to have our little adventure and discussion here. So what is the natural world? The natural world is that which surrounds us. It is the earth itself. It is all of life that is inherent within that earth. And it is everything that goes into making and sustaining us as humans on this particular planet. The natural world encompasses the plants, the trees, the animals that live within it, and as a witch walking this path, all of those things are sacred. Now, the other piece to the natural world is also what comprises that world. These are the 5 alchemical elements that are inherent in all of life and inherent in the earth itself in all of her many forms. These are air, fire, water, and the earth itself. In our practice, we often represent these elements with the symbol of the pentagram, or the 5-pointed star. Each point being a representation of one of those 4 elements, the topmost point, pointing upwards, being that representing spirit. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the perspective that we have regarding those particular elements and how they are used to inform our practice and inform our work, and thus making us form a deeper connection to everything that is in the natural world and of the earth itself. I have here some things that I'm going to actually read to you. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is air. And I have here a poem and something that is a question that you may want to use for each of these 4 elements, inclusive of that last one, spirit, which we are going to talk about afterwards, the 4. And it might be something that you'd like to use to also deepen your own understanding of what these elements are. So let's begin with air. I am air, and my gift fills your lungs. I move and flow, carried on what cannot be seen. And I hold within my mystery the inventive mind that ignites the flame of creation. Air, of all of the 4 alchemical elements, is the one that we actually cannot see. What we see are the byproducts of it, meaning that we see the leaves blowing in the wind, we feel the caress or the harsh pushing of wind when it's gusty and it's blowing. But of all of those other 4 elements, that is the one that we actually cannot physically touch. So with air, we also equate that with the process of mind, the process of thought. Air is the breath of inspiration. When we think, we have thoughts that move through the landscape of our consciousness, and oftentimes those thoughts and the way in which they move resemble what we consider to be physical air that we experience in our earthly world. Air is equated with the mind, it is equated with the intellect, but it is also equated, more importantly, with movement and what movement means for us. It is that period of time where there may be a little bit of calm, but even in that calm, there is always something that is germinating, that is causing something else to then become that gust of breeze that we will feel. Something is always generating. Air is equated with the filling of our lungs at a physiological level. We fill our lungs with air, our lungs expand, it is the life force that flows through us, it is what we expel out, and it is what we breathe in. And you could also think of air as being the point of communication. When we speak, we are breathing in and out. The words that we are sending forth, the thoughts, the ideas, the feelings, the emotions, they're all being carried on the winds of the breath that we are issuing forth. So I would ask you, as you are giving consideration to air, how will you breathe in my inspiration? What does that mean to you? How will you breathe in the gift of air, not only in its physical sense, but also breathe in the gift of air in what it can do to empower and enliven your mind? The next element is that of fire. I am fire, and my will is final. What I lay my hand to is forever. Change and transformation are my gifts. I bring the promise of new growth, and I hold within the embers of my mystery the spark of divine will. Fire is equated with action and with will, both the small will with the small little w, which tends to be our own human resources and actions and impetus weighing in more heavily to whatever that resolution or solution may be. And then also it is the big W will, the will that is informed from our higher purpose, the will that is informed from a place that actually comes from the divine spark that is within us. Fire is an element that we can clearly see. It is also the only element that must destroy in order to recreate something. Anywhere that fire places its impetus or its action is going to be a place that's rendered down, that is going to leave some ash as residue, but it's from those ashes, from the place of being able to compost what is decayed and rendered down, that we can then build something new. Fire is the driving force that spurs you on towards what your goals and your desires are. When you are fired up with passion for something, anything feels and appears to be achievable to you. This is the gift of fire. How will you answer my call to action? When we think on this question, relating it to the place of fire, we are immediately called to a place that propels us towards some sort of movement. Now, when we say action, we generally think of moving forward, but that action can also be moving backwards, regrouping, moving back towards what and who those things are and places that you feel comfortable in. Fire is also one of those elements that it warms you from the inside out. It can overheat you, but it can also provide that space of comfort and well-being that we so desire as human beings. The next element is water. Prisms of light are reflected on my flowing surface. I ask you to wax and wane in all of your endeavors, and I hold within my mystery the healing touch that offers the gift of true gnosis. Water surrounds us. We are comprised of fluids that move in and through our bodies that help to sustain us in a healthy way. The waters of our planet, of our Earth, move in ebb and tide, flow of the tides. And it is exactly this contraction and this expansion that is another form of movement. When we think of air, we think of movement and currents, but we don't think of it as moving in the same way that water does. Air actually does move along the tides of the currents. And if we think of water itself, the waters that move through us as well as on the earth itself are often guided and directed by the air or the winds that move through them. In our own physical body, the fluids that move are propelled by the intention and the thought that is given and directed through our sympathetic system, our parasympathetic system, and all of the states of our being that work in harmony with one another. When we think of water, we also think of intuition, those deep places held within us that are the emotional seascapes that we draw upon to inform the decisions that we make. Some of us are more motivated by those watery landscapes than others. Some prefer to live in the airy realms of their mind, and others prefer to dive really, really deep into the waters of their own emotional seascape. What you will find when you enter those waters of emotion is actually a deep gnosis that is born from a place of knowing. We feel our way through this universe, even though for most of us it is transparent. As we move daily, we are displacing energy, light, vibration, just by the movement of our bodies. We're moving almost like a ship steering its course through the energetic seas that surround us on a daily basis. So when we engage our watery nature and call it up to inform us in those places of perception, of psychic awareness, and of being more attuned with the general vibratory flow of the universe, then we are actually activating those spiritual waters that are within us. So my question would be, how will you open to my floods? Water, as we know, can do great damage if it is not held and kept in some sort of a container or boundary. With the waters, we have a choice of allowing our emotions and our intuitive self to either inform our decisions and our actions in a way that is orderly and structured, that comes from a solid place of anchor, or we can be overrun and overwhelmed by those waters to the point where we feel as though we're drowning in our own emotional seascape. So I would think about this question very carefully as to how you would open to those floods, because there are times when that is actually very appropriate to achieve the place of healing, which is also associated with waters, in washing clean the debris that may actually be holding you inert. Earth is our next element. I am the earth and the power of memory. I hold the memory of time before manifest form. I hold within my mystery the key to awakening from the space of silence. As beings who live on this planet, we are continually surrounded by Earth. Earth is the manifestation of all of the elements gathered together to form and create something that is tangible and is palpable. Earth is what anchors and tethers us. Earth is responsible for the forms of our bodies, which hold the other elements key within. Earth is what holds us on this planet. Earth is what gives us the foundation, and Earth is also the place of strength. If you watch any of the travel channels or National Geographic, all you have to do is look at some of the images that are shown of the great caverns that are throughout our country, the mountains that are throughout our country. And there is a stateliness and a silence about them, an imposing presence that does not even need words to describe the beauty and the strength that you are imagining. Earth is anything that is of the manifest realm, which means that Earth is in large abundance in our physical and human lives. As you work with the energy of Earth, the most important question I would ask you is how you will honor the sacred vessel that is your body. As spiritual walkers on a path, we at times often neglect what our physical bodies need. That is something that is a gross error in our judgment and in our perception. Our bodies are the most sacred things that we have in this incarnation. We are divine beings, and we have been gifted with the ability of corporeal form, the ability to hug, to reach, to laugh, to stretch, to move, to create, to use our bodies in ways that more ephemeral and non-corporeal beings can only imagine and watch us in awe of what we are able to do. So I would ask you, as a physical earthly being, how you would honor this manifest form that you carry with you. Because if you treat your body as a temple that houses the divine, then that will flow through all of the work that you do. And the last element is spirit. It is that peace and place within us that is omnipresent, it is immanent, it is transcendent, it is what we truly are. I am that I am. All is my power. Nothing is my will. I am limitless and I am finite in my plan. I hold the mystery that is unknown, and the seeking of it is my desire. We think of spirit and we think of it as being something that is beyond the reach of who and what we are. Every day that we live a magical and spiritual life, we are engaging the spirit that is within us. Every day that we honor the vessel of our body, every day that we take a sip of waters that have come from the earth, every day that we eat of the bounty of the earth, every day that we move and wake and bring ourselves to the fires of action, and every thought that we have is all born from the space of who and what we are as pure spirit. Spirit is and contains all of the four elements within it. It is not something that is isolated and separated from us. It is actually truly who we are. So in honoring the spirit that is within us, and in using that as an element that we can engage with, we are learning how to actually honor the divine that is within the human that we present to the world. The question I have for spirit is, how will you live your life of humanity? The way that I have always perceived spirit and soul is that spirit is the rarefied, limitless source of my being in its most pure form. When my soul is drawn down into a human form, that soul is actually an extruded, very small essence of what my actual spirit is. When I am born and choose to inhabit a human body, that small thread comes down as my soul into this physical form. During the course of my lifetime, I learned many lessons about being a corporeal being And at the time of my death, even though my physical body ceases to be and returns to the bounty of the earth itself, as the soul leaves, it returns to the source of my spirit, and from that I learn the lessons that are needed in order to fully engage that aspect of myself that is truly divine and is truly beyond humanity. So when we work with spirit, we are working from a place that is acknowledging the greater place that we have in the greater cosmos itself, and in a place and a sea of consciousness that is the most pure stream of energy from which we were born and from which we came as truly divine beings. So I will leave you now also with something that you may wish to use to begin each day as an affirmation. It's a poem that I wrote a long time ago that correlates with an online course that I had, and in the section that was called The Natural World, this offering was to begin that journey into exploring what each of these elements mean to you. What does air mean to you? What does fire mean to you? What does water mean to you? What does earth mean to you? And finally, what does the synthesis of those elements in the form of spirit actually mean to you? Walking this path, I am obligated to seek those answers for myself, to draw my own conclusions, so that as I stand at the gates, creating sacred space, doing the work of magic that I choose, teaching, learning, sharing, and growing, all of those things are places within each of us that I can then reach out, interact, and engage with, and also learn from those who are surrounding me what their perceptions of what these words, these elements, and these vital components of who and what we are, both magically and mundane, mean. So I leave you with this final offering as something that, if you wish to start your day each morning or at some point in your spiritual practice, that will be a reminder to you of the importance of these elements within your life, as well as the spiritual path that you have chosen. As you begin your journey, may the wisdom of the winds flow through your thoughts. May the passion of the eternal flame ignite curiosity in your heart. May the waters of the Great Mother soothe and heal the challenges you encounter in your seeking. May the strength of the gifts of nature and life's energy feed, comfort, and sustain you. And may you always reside in the brilliance of your divine self. Blessed be, and I hope you'll join me tomorrow for day 3 of 13 days walking the witch's path.